Japan. Japan is a island nation in the Pacific Ocean with dense cities, imperial palace, mountainous national parks, and the thousands of shrines and temples. The Shinkansen bullet train connects to the main distance in Kyushu with Anikawa beaches, Honshu with Tokyo and Tokyo, the capital. Tokyo, the capital, is famous for its skyscrapers, commerce, and the pop culture. Japan is a country in East Asia between the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Japan, east of the China, Russia, and Korea Peninsula. Now the land of the rising sun is the one of the world's greatest economic powers. History. The history of Japan is a succession of events that occurred when the Japanese archipelago. Some of these events appear serious and influences to the geographical nature of Japan, as in island nation, while another series and events to the dual foray, includes and the chaos on the Chinese Empire. While the definition of the language is refined and also in the tropical culture, in the politics. Likewise, another of the foreign influence was that of Western origin, which turned in the country into a Australian nation, triggered by the terrorizing of the shepherd of influence and threatened expansion over the Pacific area. However, the expansion through after World War II, and the country positioned itself in the Australian nation shame with the ties in the tropical tradition.
Geography. The geography of Japan is very special given the conditions of its relief. It is a country more elongated than wide, with an area of 377,975 square kilometers, going from Hachirogata, which is a lake located in the north of Japan, and 8 meters above sea level to Mount Fuji in the central area west of Tokyo, which is 3,776 meters above sea level. Japan is a country on the Asian continent. In fact, it is an archipelago that is made of four main islands: Kyushu, Shikoku, Honshu, and Hokkaido. Because in really it is made up of 3,776 or 6,000 other small islands, where in general Japan has a climate in which the four seasons are well defined. Japan has a hot, humid summers and cold but short winters. The precipitations are abundant and the winter usually in the form of snow. Fauna and flora. The flora of Japan is characterized by its great variety of species in Japan, there are like 5,560 native plant species, or like 4,720 angiosperms and 40 gymnosperms and 800 ferns, about 195 angineus and gymnosperms, which represents approximately the 35% of the alloiosperms and gymnosperms of the country, are exclusive to Japan, showing that the Japan has a higher proportion of endemic species compared to other countries. In Japanese fauna, we find many species, including some very rare that they don't think exist in neighboring countries. Like the vegetation of the archipelago Japanese is very varied thanks to the heterogeneity of climatic conditions. From north to south, we find that also it is inhabited by animals of climates contrast: southeastern tropical animals, Asian and Korean, and Chinese animals of the temperate south and subarctic animals, Siberian animals. Economy. Japan's economy is the third largest in the world after the United States and China. Cooperation between government and industry, the Japanese custom of hard work and mastery of technology have led Japan to the economic success it enjoys today in less than half a century.
Language. It is the East Asian language spoken by around 128 million people, mainly in Japan, where is the official language. Japanese is the primary language of the Japonic language and Altonic linguistic relationship with Korean. I know Altaic and Austro-Asian language has been debated. There is no consequences is its origin.
Religion. Very few Japanese claim to be religious, but the really is that most practice religious rites of custom, superstition, or appearance. Shintoism and Buddhism, the two major religions, have coexisted in harmony for centuries, constituting an example of tolerance for everyone. Culture. As its name indicates, the culture of Japan or Japanese culture summarizes the way of living, relating, and conceiving the world of the Japanese region. That is, of the inhabitants of the Japanese nation and their ancestral culture. Its culture is strongly affluated by China in its origins. It's about 2,677 years old, and it characterized by its own language and its own religions and traditions. But amalgamate is a complex process of syncretism over the centuries. Language. In East Asia, language spoken by around 128 million people, mainly in Japan, where is the official language. Japanese is the primary language of Japonic languages and also in linguistic relationship with Korea, Ainu, Altaic, and Austro-Asian language that been debated, and there is no consequences as its origin.